hear me?
It's nice. It's a pleasure having us on the program today.
Okay. Yes. All right. Let's get ahead with the program. Dr. Somono is an associate professor of atmospheric physics in the Department of Physics and Engineering Physics at the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. Thank you so much once again, Doctor, for joining us from the Great Ife.
It's indeed our pleasure, and thank you for having me this morning.
All right. You can join us on our live stream on Citizen FM 93.7. Just type in Insight and you will be part of the show. You can also listen to us online on www.citizenfm.ng, or you can follow us on our social media platforms. There are 3 of them: on Facebook at Citizen FM Abuja, on Instagram at Citizen FM 937, and also on X at Citizen FM 937. So, Doctor, let's just start right away. It's been a protracted journey since 2018 when Konwa started the registration process after what I just said in the introduction. Since then, it's been such a challenge to be fully accepted in the community. How has it been so far?
Yeah, once again, thank you very much, and good morning to Nigerians. Yeah, the journey has been both rough, worthwhile journey, because it's a journey to democratize the space as academics, as lecturers. Yes, we started. It was a very good introduction, summarized introduction. Yeah, we got our registration eventually in 2022/2023. The first thing we were saddled with was to actually be faced. We were faced with a legal action, which eventually came to a conclusion in July 2023. And since then, we have started to organize ourselves, and our direction is actually in the progressive direction.
All right. Doctor, I remember that time during the course of registration, some people accused you of being used, especially by the former Minister of Labor then, Dr. Chris Ngige, just to spite your colleagues in ASU.
Yeah, that kind of story, or that kind of appellation for the Congress of University Academic actually started on 4th October 2022. And we have to provide information for the citizens of this country that the story of Konwa dated back, it preceded the year of 2022. There were actually issues that led to expulsion, depending on who you speak to. But as far as we are concerned, those issues were unresolved, and eventually a pronouncement of expulsion and suspension was made over 700 academics. And because we are freeborns of this country, we had to start another organization, which eventually we called Congress of University Academics. And after tortuous journey of about 5 years, we got recognized by the federal government. If it was the former Minister of Labor attempting to coerce people, to constrict people as if we're in the military era, that was what actually backfired. And we took advantage, and I use this in the positive sense, of the democracy that we currently enjoy, starting from 1999, and the provision in the Section 40 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which spoke to freedom of association. And we took that advantage of that provision, and we operate under that protection. And it was under that protection that we applied to be registered as an independent academic union. And we so got it in 2022. So it has nothing if there's anything that has to do with Senator Dr. Chris Ngige, that's the former Minister of Labor and Employment. It's just that he was the serving Minister of Labor and Employment as at that time that the registration happened. And it could have been anybody.
All right, Doctor, we just needed to get this out of the way. The show essentially is not just about Konwa or ASU. We are looking at the education sector, but then we cannot be talking to the national president of Konwa without getting away, be trashing some of these background issues. Thank you so much for putting some of these things in perspective.
You're most welcome, sir.
All right, let's move on to the situation that we are talking about, and that's your constituency, the education sector, tertiary education. There are many unions in the university system. For example, we have ASU, NASU, SANU, and KONWA. And all these unions believe that there is need to fix the education system. Things weren't always this bad, but we need to ask ourselves, how did things get here, Dr. Somono, in the universities? How did we get there?
Yeah, thank you very much. As far as we are concerned in Konwa, the thing just didn't get bad today or not yesterday. In the university sector, if there's any word like that, there was a time in this country prior to 1976, and our first university to start with was around the 1940s thereabout. Then we have three regional universities, the University of Ife, now known. Then we had University of Lagos, the University of Ibadan. Then we had the University of Lagos. Then we had three regional universities: University of Ife, the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and the Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria. And since that time, even before, around that time, we had budget that would be more than sufficient for these different universities. And the enrollment was in hundreds. But from 1976 downward, we started having, up to this time, proliferation of universities, which is in response to the yearning and aspirations of people to have university, citizens to have university education. And these are legitimate aspirations, I must say. They are legitimate aspirations. But the funding of the government from 1976 down to this time has not been commensurate to the explosion of the student explosion, that is, the students who are legitimately aspiring to have university education, and the increment in the number of universities that we are creating from time to time, either at the federal level or at the state level, and of late at the private universities level. So it started getting bad when we were not funding appropriately. The number of staff started increasing, the number of students continued to increase. Meanwhile, the funding, even though is big in numbers, but
okay, I think we lost Dr. Somono there. We'll try and establish contact with him. He's still inside on Citizen 93.7 FM here in Abuja, and our guest has been okay. I think he's back online now. Let's see. Doctor?
Yes.
Sorry, we lost you there for a moment.
Yeah, it was fine.
Okay.
So what I was saying is that the funding was not enough, and it's still not enough when you put it side by side the needs of the university in terms of the number of universities that we have and in terms of the number of students, not to talk of commensurate research facilities and teaching facilities.
Oh, okay, Doctor.
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay. Okay, so let's pick up from where you stopped now. Let's just look at some level of strategic thinking around some of the protracted crises and challenges of the university system. For example, let's talk about autonomy. Virtually every union in the university system seems to be very apprehensive about the full autonomy of the university system. Why is this like this?
Well, in my own view, I think it's about the level of distrust between the leaders and the led, between the government and the citizens. It's a high level of, or how do I put it, mutual distrust between those that are saddled with the responsibilities of leading us and those that are being led. The autonomy, if we aspire to be like other developed countries, and the university environment should be contextualized within a universal space. It shouldn't be co-located or conscripted to operate within a local environment. And by local environment, I do not mean to be disrespectful. A local environment, localize the university to a state, a city, or the country, Nigeria. No, universities are actually supposed to be, in fact, that is the word universal. It has to be universal. So if you aspire to be like other universities, to be competitive like other universities anywhere, then there's no reason why we should have anxiety over total autonomy. Do we then operate as not only as universities, but as a country? Do we operate the kind of, do we operate the way other countries operate in terms of transparency, in terms of, and this transparency has to do with leaders and the led. As it is with the university, as it is with the federal government, for instance, or state government, so should it be with our CEOs in the universities, and it should be cascaded down to each staff of the university, the transparency. Then to live above board, as it is with people in government, so it should be with people working in the universities. I say this from time to time, and I believe it firmly, that we cannot all serve in the same place. If you are serving as the governor, we can't all be governors. We can't all be presidents. In fact, we can't, if we cascade it down to the university, we can't all be vice chancellors. But no one service is greater than the other. If we see it from the perspective of transparency through the system. So these are the qualities we all need. If we then put all that, we bring all that to the table, then there's no need for this anxiety about university autonomy. In fact, universities are places where ideas are incubated and developed. And universities can be even much richer. I do not mean by currency alone. Will actually be much richer than the nation. And let me conclude this thought by saying that it is because our universities are operating below par. So we should see university autonomy between the led and the leaders that is causing this.
All right, Dr. Somono, tied to this debate, we want to talk about the challenges of the university system. Funding always crops up, but the current administration seems to have found a way around it, at least part of it, by the introduction of the NELFund, the Nigerian Education Loan Fund. How far do you think NELFund will go in solving the problem of funding, especially?
Has been the major thing, but how do we channel these citizens think that when you have a problem and you're at liberty to think and you have a chance to think about the problem, you will be confronted with this, what we call unintended consequences.
Yeah,
you could put other problems in other areas. So my teacher told me that then when you have various solutions, then you are at liberty to take the least problematic of the solutions. So the fund came up, which started with Education Tax Fund and so on and so forth. So TED Fund has been doing its bit. We will not be in support of that. So with respect to NEL Fund, on the part of the student, again, the idea, the policy from inception when it was incubated, Conwa Partitional Assembly in support of NEL Fund, not distrust. And what are the lessons we have actually learned in the past endeavor along this line? We should bring them to bear. You see, this solution, this NEL Fund, as far as we are concerned, will solve the problem of the student. We go a long way in solving the problem of the student. And it will also make students, when they eventually graduate, to be more committed to the nation. Because when you are in need, the nation was there for you. You don't have to worry about how do you source for payment of your tuition fee. As of today, NEL Fund has disbursed over 20 billion naira, as I read in the dailies. And the beneficiaries have been over 192,000 students. We commend the government in this respect. But you see, it is not enough. Number one, what do I mean by it's not enough? The number of students, we have more students than this. It is not enough. Then, if we extend it to more students, yes, that is floated in the university, that is abandoned. If you don't follow through the policy, you abandoned it midstream. The problem we have here in this part of the world, one of the problems we have rather, is that line, which is no endeavor that is 100% perfect, but as you go on later, when you encounter some challenges along the line. So I want to impress it on the federal government through the NEL Fund that as much policy should be followed through. Next is that this TED Fund, NEL Fund is not enough. Funding must be multi-pronged. We shouldn't be just this issue of TED Fund, this issue of NEL Fund. In addition to UNILAG and University of Ibadan, making 5 pioneer universities in Nigeria, will have students maybe around 1965, 1966. And they have the policy frameworks to guide that, to guide, prevent corruption, to encourage transparency along the line. So it also be handshake between one university in Nigeria, should also be collaboration. These are different ways of sourcing for fund. It goes beyond universities as far as we are concerned. Of recent from the government, and in one university, one established university in the US could even be way more than the budget of the entire, could even be way more than the budget of the entire nation. We also have demotivated academics as we speak currently. So the government needs to do more, then create an enabling environment for those things to then happen for us.
All right, Doctor, I'm happy that you brought in the issue of the motivation for the academic, but let's leave that for now. We'll still come back to that. I'm still talking about the challenges of the university system. You mentioned funding. You also insinuated during the course of your argument that the university is supposed to incubate ideas and help society. But one of the things education watchers have seen in recent